Unless you already work in the healthcare industry, you probably don't know how to effectively wash your hands in order to remove as much virus particles and other infectious diseases as possible. Now, more than ever with the spread of coronavirus, it's up to each and every one of us in order to be washing our hands properly to prevent the spread of this infection. So today I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to do just that. And right at the end, I'm also going to be sharing some self-maintenance tips to keep your hands in tip-top condition to avoid picking up those virus particles to begin with. My name's Megan. I am a health coach and licensed practical nurse here in Alberta. And guys, I have to tell you, when I was in nursing school, we actually spent an entire class learning how to wash our hands. It seems like such a simple concept when you think about it, right? You wash your hands, you sing happy birthday, whatever it is. But the thing is if you're not using the proper technique in order to mechanically remove as much virus as possible, then you're not really using the hand washing as effectively as you can. And so that's why I thought it was important to bring this to you today. Now more than ever, it is so important for each and every one of us to step up and to be in a leadership position to prevent the spread of this infection. We can no longer just look to health professionals and governments to protect us. Our health is in our own hands. And so at this point, I really just wanted to share this information to get it out there. I'm hoping that you will share this with your other loved ones and people who are affected by this disease so that we can make sure that we really limit the spread of coronavirus. So in healthcare, there are actually 5 moments for hand hygiene. Number 1 is before touching a patient. Number 2 is before performing a clean or aseptic technique on that patient. Number 3 is after any kind of bodily fluid exposure or risk of exposure. Number 4 is after touching a patient. And then number 5 is after being in that patient's surroundings. So, maybe their room or wherever that patient is actually living at that time. We can apply these 5 moments for hand hygiene to everyday life as follows. So for us in the general public, number 1, we want to wash our hands before we are touching our face. Number 2, we want to make sure that we are washing our hands before we are caring for a sick loved one. Number 3, we want to make sure that we are washing our hands after caring for a sick loved one. Number 4, this is kind of a no-brainer, and I think that a lot of us know this, but after blowing our nose, coughing, sneezing, we want to make sure that we are washing our hands. And number 5, this is becoming more and more important after being in a public environment. So the ideal way to wash your hands is always going to be by using soap and water. Soap and water is the most effective way to remove virus particles, bacteria, and anything dirty that is soiling your hands. Just the mechanical action of rubbing your hands together, even if you don't have soap, is more effective than nothing at all. Second best to soap and water is, of course, hand sanitizer. And we're going to be using the same technique to use our hand sanitizer as we would through using soap and water. So I'm going to pop up an image right here, and it's going to be a picture of me basically washing my hands. I'm going to walk you through how not to do it, which is how typically most people wash their hands. And then I'm also going to be walking you through how you should be doing it now and going forward. So typically when we wash our hands, we turn the tap on, we pump some soap in, and we rub our hands together. And usually it's not for that recommended 30 seconds, right? It's kind of a quick once over. We don't really focus a lot on the backs of our hands. We definitely don't focus on the creases in our hands or in between our fingers. It's just really quick, right? And then what do we do once we're done washing our hands? We usually touch the same tap that we touched with our dirty hands to turn off the water, and then we use the same old towel that's been hanging in the bathroom for who knows how long to dry our hands off. So you can probably see where I'm going with this, right? Like there's not really a lot of aseptic technique here, right? We're transferring germs back and forth and somehow washing our hands in between, and it's really not as effective as it could be. So let me show you, I'm going to walk you through how you could be washing your hands to prevent the spread of infection. So number 1, you do not need to use hot water to wash your hands. The temperature of the water is not going to kill any more germs or bacteria or virus than it would if it's cold versus hot, tolerably hot. You would need a temperature of 100 degrees or more, and of course we're not going to be washing our hands in that because you will be burning yourself. Another side note, you definitely will not be needing antibacterial hand soap. This has probably been spread around for a long time now. Antibacterial hand soap, there's really no purpose to it. Traditional, regular soap will work just fine. So as a student nurse, you guys, we spent an entire class learning how to wash our hands effectively. What they did is they squirted some glow-in-the-dark substance onto our hands. We had to rub it into our hands, and then we were tested by washing our hands. After we washed our hands properly, we were taken into a dark room where they shone a light, and you could see all the places that you missed. And places that you tend to miss usually are in your cuticle area. Any places where you have rough, dry skin, that is definitely places where you can harbor germs, bacteria, viruses, coronavirus. In between your fingers, that really needs to be focused on, especially in the palm of your hand. That's the surface that we're touching the most, right? So you can see I'm using a technique here where I am curling my fingers into the palm of my hand and rubbing vigorously. This is really going to remove a lot of virus particles from your cuticles as well as the palm of your hand. So it's a great technique to use. We want to make sure that we are washing our hands all the way up to our wrist area. So be sure to wash your wrists. After you've rubbed your hands in all the areas and you've really concentrated on your thumbs and your cuticles and your palms, the backs of your hands, in between your fingers, we're going to be rinsing our hands. Now, it's important not to touch any surfaces while you're rinsing your hands off. So try not to touch the sides of the sink as well as the tap. And we want to be sure that our hands are in a downward position. So we don't want water running back up our elbow. We want it all running down into the sink. Once our hands are fully rinsed, you don't want to be touching the tap, especially with your bare hands. I suggest using maybe disposable paper towels to dry your hands with, or if that's not an option for you, you can definitely use reusable cloths. Just be sure it is a clean cloth every single time in order to really maintain as clean of environment as you can. So don't be drying your hands on the same hand towel that has been hanging in the bathroom for God knows how long. Once we're done drying our hands, we can then go ahead and use that same cloth to turn off the tap water. And then this cloth is going to be going directly into the laundry hamper, or like I said, if it's disposable, directly into the garbage. So finally, I want to give you guys a few tips to keep your hands as clean as possible. This is especially true for women. So in healthcare, it is always advised to keep your nails nice and short. Now it is more important than ever that all of us do this. You can see here my nails are nice and long, and that's how I like them. However, I'm going to be cutting my nails here to keep them nice and short. You guys, a ton of bacteria, viruses, and disease can live underneath those nails. Ladies, especially true if you're a fan of fake nails or acrylic nails. I would be suggesting to get those removed or take them off yourself. Keep your nails nice and neat and short and easy to keep clean. The other thing too, jewelry. So if you're wearing rings excessively, if you're wearing any kind of bracelets, things like that, you don't really need to be wearing that right now. And these are just extra things that can pick up disease. It's been shown that the coronavirus can live on hard surfaces for many, many hours after it's landed. And so do you really want to be carrying that with you along with your clean hands? Probably not. So I would be really aware of the jewelry that you're putting on, that you're wearing. This is especially true if you have rings with lots of gems in them, or diamonds, or any little crevices, nooks and crannies. That is a perfect breeding ground for bacteria, viruses, and any other kind of germs. In addition